Hi everyone, my name is Nthabiseng Kgoedi. According to the SAICA 2016 SMME Insight Report, over 80% of SMMEs do not do business with government. Major reasons for this are long and complicated tender process, lack of transparency in the tender process, and slow rate payment from government, and the BEE process being too complicated. I'm joined by Julius Mojapelo, and we will be exploring and unpacking different opportunities available for SMMEs to do business with government and free BEE confirmations, and also how SMMEs can manage the risk of getting paid late when doing work with government. Welcome, Julius. Julius, tell us what opportunities are there for SMMEs to do business with government?
I think firstly it's important for SMMEs to package themselves properly to do business with government. But once that process is completed, the next step is that firstly government has created opportunities by enforcing legislation that requires subcontracting of about 30% of tenders to SMMEs, QSEs and cooperatives in terms of the triple PFA. So in that way, because of this large amounts of money that will be available from procurement in government, the opportunity for small businesses to do business with government has just grown.
So where does an SMME start should they wish to do work with government?
Firstly, the registering on the central supplier database is the most advisable step. And then once you've registered there, you are at least in the game, because when government looks for suppliers, they go to the central supplier database. And secondly, the e-tender portal that the Treasury has started has got a lot of information about available tenders. There's also some tenders that are still advertised in local newspapers. You also have websites of the organs of state that have these tenders. And finally, there are some entities that do tender notifications for a fee.
What information does an SMME need in order to register themselves on the central supplier database?
I think first and foremost, the business formation documents need to be in order. For example, CIPC registration document, if you are a partnership agreements, and also if you are a sole proprietor, to make sure that all your documents are in order. Secondly, all businesses are expected to have contact details, address, email, information like that. And also the banking details should be in order. The central supplier database does check that your banking account you're using is actually valid. The one that is most concerning for some SMMEs is the tax information. Being able to make sure that your tax data is up to date and you do not have any amounts that you owe to SARS, you are not in areas in submissions of tax return and all those things. And then finally, the most crucial one when doing business with government is the BEE information, making sure that you have the right confirmations for the BEE status level.
So what is the sort of information that one or an SMME rather will find on the e-tender?
The e-tender portal has really been a good source for many SMMEs. One, it shows you all tenders that have been advertised, both those that are still open and the ones that have been awarded. It will also give you details if a tender has been cancelled, because sometimes tenders are cancelled for one reason or the other. And also the templates of tender documents are available on the e-tender portal.
In terms of the amended BEE code, I understand that some SMMEs no longer required to work with the BEE certificates, but can also use an affidavit. So which SMMEs qualify for this?
There are two types of SMMEs that would qualify for this. Firstly, it's exempt micro enterprises, and then the other one is qualifying small enterprises that are black controlled. An exempt micro enterprise is any entity that has a turnover of 10 million or less, and a qualifying small enterprise is any entity that has a turnover of 50 million or less.
What BEE level will the SMME qualify when obtaining a BEE affidavit?
The BEE affidavit, in making things easy, has automated a level 4 for all exempt micro enterprises. So if you are an entity with a turnover of 10 million or less, you are automatically on a level 4 of BEE. If you are at least 51% black owned, your BEE level is automatically situated at a level 2. So when you get an affidavit, you will be there. And all 100% black owned enterprises that are exempt micro enterprises or qualifying small enterprises will get a level 1 of BBB.
What is the process that an SMME needs to follow in order to get or obtain the affidavit?
Firstly, they need to get to the DTI's website, because they have templates of these affidavits for BEE, both for qualifying small enterprises and for exempt micro enterprises. But they also have a differentiation between a special enterprise and a normal enterprise, in that you also have non-profit organizations and NGOs that could be requiring BE certificates. But then the second step is that once they've gotten the template and they've completed it, they need to get a Commissioner of Oath stamp on the affidavit. And then after they do that, that affidavit will be valid from the signature of the Commissioner for 12 months.
Earlier on, we touched on the challenges that SMMEs face when working with government in terms of late payments. So what is it that SMMEs can put in place in order to help them getting paid late or manage the whole process of late payments from government?
First and foremost, an SMME needs to make sure that they are responding to a valid tender. There are a lot of fake tenders out there, and because the procurement process is so vast and a lot of people are taking advantage of it. And then secondly, the SMME just needs to ensure that the organ of state has followed the processes required by legislation in terms of advertising that tender. For example, some tenders require to be advertised publicly. The organ of state sometimes is required to get 3 quotations from suppliers. So it is very important that the SMME understands whether the organ of state has followed processes, because if they haven't, that could result in delays in terms of payment. It is not a requirement that your tax affairs necessarily have to be in order before a payment is made, but a lot of instances have occurred where suppliers are not being paid because at the time of payment, the organ of state checks their tax status and they find that they've got overdue accounts, they've got unsubmitted returns. So as a result, it's very important that the SMME has made sure that their tax affairs are in order. If all else fails, there is a SMME support helpline on the SEDA website where the SMME can actually report non-payment by an organ of state, and the SEDA is able to help them follow up on that payment. The Chief Procurement Officer's office is also available for SMMEs to address their issues of non-payment.
Thank you so much, Julius, for joining us today. And we've really gained a lot of knowledge regarding how SMMEs can do business with government.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. That's all we have for today.